Seatbelt. Alright, mate. Just keep your hands where I can see him. Step out. I'm going to put you in handcuffs to the rear, alright? No funny business beside that motorway, you understand?
On a rainy night in Lancashire, police on the M6 noticed a car acting suspiciously. Moments later, a package was thrown from the vehicle, landing mere inches from flashing blue lights. Inside the car, authorities found a drone and multiple mobile phones. Behind the wheel was Curtis Carney. Alongside him in the conspiracy was Robert Stober. What they had orchestrated was not ordinary crime. It was a sophisticated operation to fly contraband into high-security prisons across the northwest using unmanned aerial vehicles. Investigations later revealed over 50 drone flights, 11 drones seized, and drugs with an estimated prison street value of up to £295,000. This was a network that defied the walls of the prison system and exploited the very air above it. To understand how these two men turned the skies into a delivery route for contraband, we need to trace back the origins of their operation and the events that led to their capture. If you don't subscribe now, you might miss the next shocking twist before anyone else. Don't let that happen. Curtis Carney, aged 36, of Courton Way in Kirkby, Merseyside, entered the frame. Robert Stober, aged 26 and of no fixed abode, became his companion in crime. Kirkby is part of a working-class belt in the northwest, where economic hardship, limited opportunity and a strong local crime culture can shape young lives. Against that backdrop, Carney's environment was one where ambition and risk often walk side by side. In Carney's earlier days, the temptation of quick gain, through petty theft, vehicles, gambles in local networks, laid a foundation. He knew how to move in the shadows, how to make a name among those who look for the shortcut rather than the steady path. Stober, younger and unsettled, no fixed address, fewer anchors, easily drawn into a scheme offering power, profit, a route out. He filled a role Carney needed. Meanwhile, the prison system in England and Wales was under pressure. Contraband inside jails was fetching huge premiums. Mobile phones, drugs, and other banned items were high-value commodities because the walls didn't stop the demand, only the supply. An investigation found over 1,000 drone incursions into prisons in 1 year, tenfold increase since 2020. For organized crime groups, the open air above the prison became a new frontier. The hard perimeter of bars and walls remained, but the sky offered a way in. Carney began looking upward. If the ground routes were blocked, then the drones could carry the cargo. Stober joined, the logistics escalated, the ambition grew. The prison walls stood firm, but above them, the horizon opened. And then the drones began to fly. In June 2024, Curtis Carney was stopped on the M6 in Lancashire. Before officers could reach the car, a package was hurled from the vehicle, landing on the hard tarmac. Inside that package, police later discovered drugs, mobile phones, and a drone, tools that would define a new chapter in prison smuggling. Carney had established a network that relied on more than just speed and secrecy. Female associates drove vehicles to transport packages, and contraband was stored in the homes of vulnerable women, creating layers of distance between him and the crime. It was careful, calculated, and ruthless. Robert Stober entered the circle around this time. Young, mobile, and with no fixed address, he became a trusted driver and associate, moving packages between storage points and preparing flights for drones. His role would soon make him an essential part of the operation. The methods evolved quickly. Initial runs involved conventional smuggling, packages carried by hand, concealed in vehicles, mobile phones and drugs quietly passed along. But soon, the operation turned skyward. Drones offered a route that bypassed perimeter walls entirely, carrying high-value contraband into the very heart of prisons. The walls of the prisons felt safe, but above them, the sky was no longer empty. and as Carney and Stober perfected their aerial deliveries, the authorities began to take notice. Just as they were stepping up, the prisons began to whisper of something coming in from above. By mid-2024, the operation had grown far beyond its initial flights. Investigators later recorded over 50 drone incursions into 6 prisons across the northwest of England, including HMP Liverpool, HMP Audacious, and HMP Wimmett. The scale of the enterprise became clear as authorities seized 11 drones. Street value drugs in each flight were estimated between £31,000 and £38,000, but inside the prisons, where demand drove the price up, their value soared to between £94,000 and £295,000. The method was precise and rehearsed. Vehicles transported the packages, often driven by female associates, with contraband stored in the homes of vulnerable women before being loaded into drones. Flights were timed to avoid patrols and surveillance, and the drones themselves were small, difficult to detect, and capable of carrying multiple packages in a single run. As the operation expanded, so too did the confidence of those involved. Profits were reinvested, and a sense of impunity grew. They began pushing boundaries, flying drones boldly over secured perimeters, seemingly untouchable. But with growth came pressure. Rival groups watched, intelligence units within prisons took note, and every flight carried the risk of exposure. The tension was constant, the stakes higher with each delivery. But every flight left a trace. And the sky has ears. If you ignore subscribing now, you could miss the final flights that led to their downfall. You don't want to be left in the dark. As 2024 progressed, Curtis Carney and Robert Stober's operation reached its most audacious stage. Flights were no longer occasional, multiple drones were deployed to multiple prisons on the same night, with storage points scattered across different locations to avoid detection. The demand inside the prisons remained relentless. Mobile phones, drugs, and other contraband were worth far more within the walls than on the street, creating a high-stakes market that drove every flight. Each successful delivery reinforced the network and emboldened those running it. Yet the cracks were beginning to show. Police surveillance had increased, intelligence alerts were triggered across counties, and sources within the system provided early warnings to investigators. The meticulous planning could only hide them for so long. For Carney and Stober, every drone launch was a calculated risk. They believed they were operating under the radar, but the law was closing in. Then the operation took a hit. A routine stop and everything they had built was about to be tested. Curtis Carney's first run-in with the law came in June 2024, on the M6 motorway. Police stopped his vehicle, and in a desperate bid to evade capture, he threw a package wrapped in grass from the car. Inside the vehicle, officers found a drone in the boot, a glimpse of the audacious operation he was orchestrating. But Carney's activity did not stop there. By October 2024, investigators had tracked his movements near HMP Liverpool. Carney was again arrested, this time with 2 more drones and several packages of contraband in the vehicle. Robert Stober, his associate and driver, was also detained. Months of surveillance, intelligence gathering, and careful monitoring of the network had finally brought both men to justice. The arrests marked a turning point. Errors that had once seemed minor, miscommunications, rushed flights, misplaced packages, had finally caught up with them. Once the drones had flown almost unseen, every route, every launch, and every delivery was now under intense scrutiny. The skies that had been their pathway to freedom had become a trap. Even as the net closed, Carney and Stober attempted to continue operations. Drones were prepped, packages loaded, but the law had already gained the upper hand. Each flight now carried the certainty of exposure. As the final flights ended, one fact remained clear: for every criminal network dismantled, the skies are still watched, and the next audacious attempt may be closer than anyone thinks. On the 21st of October 2025, Liverpool Crown Court became the stage for the conclusion of one of the most audacious drone smuggling operations the Northwest had ever seen. Curtis Carney and Robert Stober faced justice for their roles in flying contraband into prisons across the region. The evidence presented was staggering: 11 drones seized, over 50 recorded flights, mobile phones, drugs, and vehicles tracked through meticulous police surveillance. Each flight, each package, each maneuver had been documented, forming a web of undeniable proof against the men. Courtroom tension rose as prosecutors outlined the sophistication of the network. Carney was jailed for 7 years and 6 months due to his leading role, while Stober received 22 months, bringing their combined prison time to 9 years and 10 months. Carney was also issued a serious crime prevention order restricting access to drones and mobile phones for 5 years post-release. Outside the court, the media painted a picture of an operation that had tested the limits of prison security. The Northwest Regional Organized Crime Unit issued statements emphasizing the scale of the crimes, the intelligence-led investigations, and the vigilance that finally brought the men to justice. But even as sentences were handed down, questions lingered. How many flights had succeeded before they were caught? How many packages had made it through undetected? Millions of pounds worth of contraband had been intercepted, but the true extent of the network's reach might never be fully known. For Carney and Stober, the prison walls now held firm. But for investigators and the public, the shadow of the operation lingered, a stark reminder that for every empire dismantled, another watched, learned, and waited. With the sentences handed down, Curtis Carney and Robert Stober faced years behind bars and strict post-release restrictions. Carney was prohibited from operating drones or possessing mobile phones for 5 years, a serious crime prevention order aimed at preventing any return to his previous methods. Stober faced similar constraints, ensuring that the network's leaders would be cut off from the tools that made their crimes possible. Public information on their associates remains limited. Investigations are ongoing, with law enforcement noting that other members of the network may still be under scrutiny. The arrests and convictions highlighted a broader issue: the use of drones to deliver contraband was not isolated to one group, but part of an evolving challenge across the prison system. The Ministry of Justice and HMPPS acknowledged the growing sophistication of organized crime groups exploiting technology. Drone smuggling, they warned, had become a significant threat, demanding interagency cooperation, intelligence sharing, and new technological countermeasures. Prisons across the Northwest had to adapt quickly to prevent further incursions, reinforcing fences, installing detection systems, and training staff to respond to aerial contraband threats. The impact on local communities was equally profound. Vulnerable individuals were used as pawns, coerced or recruited into facilitating flights, storage, or transport. Families and neighborhoods felt the reverberations, a stark reminder that the reach of such networks extends far beyond prison walls. Was the risk worth it? For Carney and Stober, perhaps. For the victims inside prisons, and for the communities affected, absolutely not. The skies above prisons are no longer empty. They are contested. And as authorities continue to monitor the airspace, one truth remains clear: for those who watch from above, vigilance is the only safeguard. Curtis Carney and Robert Stober once turned the skies above prisons into a delivery route for contraband. Today, their freedom is grounded, but their story serves as a warning: wherever technology offers an advantage, someone will try to exploit it. For every operation dismantled, another watches, studies, and waits for an opportunity. The lesson is clear: crime adapts, and vigilance must do the same. If this story shook you, hit like, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell so you'll never miss a true crime story like this.